slowdown, slowdown, slowdown. Unfortunately, that's the one-word gripe that was most likely to be attributed to scrolling space shooters on the SNES. Games like Gradius 3 and R-Type were plagued by it, so much so that the issue made two games subpar that otherwise would have been standout titles. However, there were also a select few scrolling shooters on the SNES that had no debilitating slowdown of this kind. One of them happens to be Space Megaforce, developed by Compile and released on the system in 1992. Known as Super Aleste in Japan, the title broke ground and clearly outshined other early shooter games on the system. I think this was true for three very specific reasons. The first is that Space Megaforce wasn't too unbalanced and unfair. This factor is a big deal. So many scrolling shooter games of that era were just so punishing to the point of frustration because of one-hit deaths and near impossible projectile evasion requirements. The reason for this in large part was because many developers thought that high difficulty was the only way to deliver high replay value. Many of the shooters from this era were simply way too hard, which just caused frustration and led players to go on to other games. But come on, there should be a balance here, and Space Megaforce actually offers it. This is because the game first hinders your weapon's strength before you are killed outright. It seems like a minor thing, but trust me, it's a world of difference. Also, Compile ingeniously built the title's replay value in the 5 distinct difficulty settings, rather than building the difficulty into the game itself. This allowed players of various skill levels to enjoy it. The power-up system and weapons were another reason I consider Space Megaforce one of the top shooters on the SNES. There are 8 different weapon archetypes, and getting additional power-ups of each type adds additional cannons or expands the weapon's spread. Each weapon can be upgraded 6 total times. The game also ties the actual power-ups to the player's survival, which was a creative idea that worked well with the weapon progression system. The third reason Space Megaforce separates itself from some of the other space shooters on the SNES was because of its varied level design. There are 12 total areas, and the levels mostly stood out from each other such that the gameplay wasn't too repetitive. For instance, the first level is a rainforest-looking area with a giant mecha boss at the end. Afterward, you go directly into a space level, hovering over an interstellar outpost. The way the graphics transition you onto this part of the stage was really cool, and there are parts where you progress downward rather than up, which was definitely novel for a shooter. Some levels challenge you more by making you avoid obstacles, while others force you to deal with a wider array of powerful enemies. The variance here really added to the game's appeal and successfully avoided monotony. The story of Space Megaforce is a pretty typical cyberpunk trope. The year is 2048, and tensions explode when unidentified extraterrestrial spacecraft approach and attack Earth. As part of Earth's defense force, it is up to you to stop the alien aggressors. Believe it or not, there are some differences in the story and ending between the Japanese and North American versions, and I'm really not exactly sure why. And this is a minor facet of the game, but the animated title screen was pretty sweet. There's also some cheesy voice acting when you pick up power-ups, but the voice is kinda hard to make out.
Laser, circle, multi-direction shot, missile.
Well, it was an early SNES title after all. While Space Megaforce is a fantastic SNES shooter, it isn't perfect, and I think it has one glaring defect: ambiguous visual borders. Not that they're ambiguous in the sense that you don't know what they are, but there are objects in the levels that you can fly through without issue, while others will cause you to collide and die. This is an issue because the game doesn't make clear enough which objects you can and cannot traverse through. Other than that, I think almost every other aspect of this game is great. One thing I found out about Space Megaforce was that North American copies are absurdly expensive, especially complete ones. However, I also discovered that the Japanese counterpart on the Super Famicom is much more affordable, and I would definitely recommend going this route if you want to pick up a physical copy. Being this a shooter game, the translation differences are minor, and you won't really be impacted even if you don't read Japanese. As part of the Aleste series, Space Megaforce really shined. The title also has a cousin on the Sega Genesis in the form of Musha, another awesome space shooter that uses similar concepts. Aleste fans consider both to be true gems, and even as someone that isn't totally enthralled by space shooters, I can see why. I think Space Megaforce is definitely one of my favorite shooters on the SNES, but I can't say I like it quite as much as Axelite. If you like this review and remember Space Megaforce, leave a comment below about the most memorable aspect of the game to you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell below to be alerted upon the addition of new ones. Also, please consider supporting my channel via YouTube's Join feature to receive member exclusives, such as advanced videos and complete video transcripts.